So the last thing we're going to talk about before we jump over to the conversion methods wiki for instructions on how to actually use spec and do conversions is we're going to just give you kind of a preview of Plog here. It'll save you some time when you go to do some conversions. So here's the palette, and I personally don't ever use that because all that stuff is available here on a context menu. That's a right click, but that's up to you. To me, this just uses up screen real estate, but we say up to you, so I close that. Let's see, what else do we want to show you here? On the file menu, open is where you open layouts, save as. It's pretty intuitive. Recent files here is kind of handy, where you can bring up layouts that you worked on recently. On the edit menu, we already talked about the preferences in chapter 1, so hopefully you've got some of these critical DSP and disk I/O settings already taken care of. The other thing on the edit menu is offline processing. So the reason I got that error message when I tried to select offline processing is because I have a sound device here in this layout. So what offline processing does is instead of having Plog run in real time and put out the audio as it plays at the correct speed and everything, if you don't have an audio device in the layout, you can go into offline mode. I'll just demonstrate that here. So I'm selecting that, press delete, and now I can go into offline processing mode, and you see here it's checked off. And if I turn processing on, you'll see that down at the bottom here I've got a little time indicator, which is different than if, let's stop, turn processing off, go out of offline processing, turn processing on, and see when you have processing on, you have a DSP load indication. This machine has 2 processors in it, so there's 2 indicators there. I don't have anything going multi-threaded here, so it's just going to show the one core DSP on the one processor. But offline processing then allows you to go at whatever rate your computer is able to go. So once you've got all your settings set up in a conversion, I generally stop processing, take out the monitoring audio device, and then go into offline processing and do the actual recording. And that can save you anywhere from half to a third of the time it would take. And you're also less likely to get any glitches caused by any other programs that you might be running on your computer or whatnot if you were online processing mode. Other things here, if you add plugins or groups and you don't want to stop and restart Biddle, then you can scan for new VSTs or new plugins or new groups, and it'll find them. Generally, you don't really need anything on the tools menu here. I encourage you to read the help, and any questions you have. There's a lot of information here, and I still find things buried in here all the time. So, and there's little keyboard tricks like if you hold down the control key and do up arrow, you can zoom in, or down arrow, zoom out, things like that. So there's little tricks that can save you a lot of time. Okay, so that's the top menu bar. Now we'll go through these buttons here. New, of course, is a new layout. Open, save, that's all pretty intuitive. Undo, redo. Parameters are for linking parameters together. That's probably a little advanced for right now, but this is where that stuff is. We can talk about it in a later chapter. And that's about it, other than this processing on-off button, which we've already used a few times. I have Plogue set in the preferences to come up with processing off, and then I can turn it on or off as I need to. So let's go ahead. Well, okay, first of all, this is a MIDI device, and you can tell it's a MIDI device because it has a white output pin. Plogue has 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of signals that you can connect things together with. So white is MIDI, blue is audio or a control signal, and in the spectral world that Spec uses, orange lines are frequency magnitudes and yellow lines are frequency values or frequencies. So let's go ahead and just grab a layout here. Okay, so this is a fairly recent Spec layout, and you can see that things are connected together here with these blue lines. So these are like patch cords in an audio system. So I'm just going to highlight these two and press the delete key, which will delete them. There's several ways to do that. And I want to point out something that comes in very handy. When you highlight something just by mousing over it, look down here in the lower left-hand corner. You can see what that device is, and you know, if it was a native Biddle, that's what these things are called. Like, let's say if I go here, that was right-click, building blocks, delay line, for instance. Okay, so I could go in here and I could rename this thing. Glenn's Magic Box. Okay, so now you have no idea what this thing is. But if you look down here in the lower left-hand corner, it says Glenn's Magic Box delay line. So now you know that's really a delay line. So that's a handy thing. And then the other thing is when you mouse over the input pins and output pins, if the person that made that group or Biddle was nice enough to label them, then you can see the labels of the different pins, and then you know how you should wire them together. Okay, so let's get rid of that guy. No more Glenn's Magic Box. So you just the way you just connect things is click on a pin and drag to another pin and let go, and it makes the connection for you. There's also a shortcut. If I hold down the control key before I click and drag, then it will try to make all of the connections that it can at once. So that's a nice shortcut. We're actually about out of time for this chapter, so we'll pause here and take it up in the next chapter.